Welcome to LSB Feaster's Radio Aircheck and Classic TV channel.
Thank you, group. I just got a phone call here from a guy who says his name is Alan Freed. That must be really long distance.
The Rock Reunion, WCBS-FM. Dan Ingram.
Go back to 63. Remember the Rockin' Rebels? Yeah, they had a hit record called Wild Weekend, which reminds me of my back somehow. You know what I mean. Yeah, you know what I mean, right? That's what I mean. I introduced the news, and we were 2 minutes into the newscast at 5:27. That's when we went off the air, if you want some history. Okay? Okay, that's history. So this is history, too. Yeah, the Supremes, Diana Ross.
I need love. Hey, hurry, love, no.
The Rock and Roll Radio Reunion. Dan Ingram. On 101 CBS-FM.
Ever made. Wait a million years. What do you do after a million years? Try to hold yourself up. The grassroots right there, and one of the greats of radio just walked in, and we are on the Rock and Roll Radio Greats Weekend, including Jack Spector.
Right.
My good buddy Chuck Leonard. How you doing, buddy?
All right, Big Dan. How's it going?
Hey, listen, you know, another day, another dollar.
I understand. I got to be in here tomorrow between 3 and 6, and I was listening to you. I was walking around the neighborhood because I live pretty close by.
There you go. You got your little Walkman on there.
And I decided I'd come up to see what the terrain looked like. I didn't realize. I thought this was going to be fun. Now I realize I got to come in and fight for my life tomorrow.
Some of these guys come in here.
Well,
I'm having fun. I got to tell you, it's like the only thing wrong with this place is 107 degrees in the studio, and you go to push the little button. It's like the ABC. They had that fake thermometer,
right?
And you turned it, and nothing happened. It's like the closed door button on the elevator that isn't hooked up to anything. You know, all those kind of things. We got. I think we have a little piece of history here.
This is WABC, the station New York is twisting to. Channel 77. Oh, yeah. 18 minutes before 5 o'clock, 71 WABC degrees. Let's twist right now with a peppermint twist. Mr. Joey D. and the Starlight is doing it for you right here in your Dan Ingram Flingram. How you, Kimosabe? Let's go, baby.
I don't know how they ever hired me for that.
I miss Kimosabe.
Kimosabe.
Kimosabe needs to be on the radio.
Kimosabe, you talk funny. Oh, well, good grief, it's Pronto. How are you, Pronto? You make fun of me again. Me finally got. Well, what do you say, me finally got? Why don't you talk like a normal American? It's your fault, Kimosabe. And have you noticed how much when you have a cold, I have a cold? I noticed that. Did you get your Ph.D.? Yes, I did. Ever since you got the letter from the Indian people who are angry at you making fun of me. I said, okay, fine. There was Mr. Schwartz who wrote me a letter once said, don't make fun of Indians. And so I stopped. Anyway, I think we have the legal people on the phone, don't we? Up and away. Good afternoon. South law firm, doesn't it?
Would you like to ride my beautiful balloon? Would you like to ride my beautiful balloon? We could float among the stars together, you and I. For we can fly.
Yeah, that's the Fifth Dimension. Back when they were sounding white, if you remember. I got to tell a story on you, Chuck, and this is the truth, folks. There came a time when I was working at WABC when they had 2 openings. They needed an all-night guy, and they needed a guy to work from, I think it was like 10 to midnight or 11 to midnight, whatever it was. And I walked into Wally Schwartz's office. Wally Schwartz is probably one of the nicest men in radio. He was the general manager, then later went on to be president of networks and everything. He's just a charming, wonderful, delightful man. And I said, I know of 2 people. 2 people. One is a personal friend of mine. His name is Ron Lundy. And here's his tape. I have a tape of his from the old days on WIL. And I gave the tape to him. And he called Ron. And Ron came in. And that's another story I'm going to tell you. I said, there's this guy on WWRL. I said, I can't tell you whether he's white or black. I know it's a black station. I know they have white newsmen. But I've been listening to him for a couple of months now. And he turned you on. It was midday, as I remember when you were in. And he said, that guy sounds great.
You know, funny thing, I was doing somebody else's show when he was listening.
No
We
kidding.
had a guy named Rocky G.
Oh, sure.
Who was the program director, and he did Afternoon Drive.
Yeah.
And Rocky was out on vacation or something.
Yeah.
And when you guys called me, or when Rick Sklar called me from ABC, I thought he was looking for Rocky G. I said, well, I'm just a replacement. And it wasn't a couple of months. I was only at RL. It's a really weird story. It was a wild year in my life.
Yeah.
I was only at RL 7 weeks.
Really?
That was including giving him 2 weeks' notice. So when you called me, I'd been there about 4.5 weeks.
That's incredible.
In New York City.
Well, I got to tell you, you, of course, went on in the late evening, and Ron originally started at ABC doing the all-night show, which most people have forgotten. And you said something which, to me, I think proves what kind of a damn good man you are. I remember when Wally offered you the job, and it was very rare to have a black disc jockey on a white radio station those days. You said, I don't want to be anybody's experiment. And I've respected you for that as long as I've known you.
We had fun. I'll tell you one thing. I know you got business to do, and I'm going to get out of your way.
Oh, okay.
But one of the memories that I've always held kind of close and dear to myself is when you and I went out to a school on Long Island. And the school was, it was in one of those communities where there probably were a few black people around, but not in the school.
Yeah.
There were 2 Orientals, and they were very nervous. I remember you making that comment. And they introduced us, and they said, and now, ladies and gentlemen, Chuck Leonard, and you stood up.
Right.
I thought it was
Everybody in the audience said, huh? And then they said, and now, Dan Ingram and Chuck stood up.
But the other really weird thing about that period, Ron Lundy and I we came at about the same time.
Yeah.
And people didn't know which was which.
Yeah.
And because Ron was from Mississippi, or from the South,
Yeah.
he had an accent.
Yeah.
Everybody called Ron Chuck, because they knew one of us was black, and the black guy was Chuck. They called Ron Chuck for years, and they called me Ron, and I would answer.
That's funny. I'm going to tell you one other quick story, and then we will get to business, I promise. I don't want to turn this into a talk thing, because this, by the way, you're listening to the Rock and Roll Radio Greats Weekend on CBS-FM, CBS-FM, 101.1, CBS-FM. Remember that when I ask, who you're listening to, because that's what it's all about, folks. But Ron Lundy, when he came in to apply for the job to meet, I guess it was Hal Neal was the general manager at the time. No, it was I said his name before. Wally Schwartz. Wally Schwartz.
Yeah.
He stuck his head in the studio and said, hey, I got to go down to talk to this guy. We may sign some paper today. He said, I may have the job. I said, oh, great. Come on back up when you're done. He came back up, and it was a few minutes before 6, and I used to get off the air at 6 in those days. He said, I got to run. I got to make a plane. He said, I got a plane to St. Louis. And I said, the hell you will. You and me are going to go drink at some Scotch whiskey and have some steaks, and you get a later plane. He said, okay. And he called. He got a plane ticket, a 9 o'clock flight from... in those days, it was Idlewild.
Okay.
And the plane that he was supposed to be on went into Lake Michigan with 363 people on it. It was one of the biggest crashes of all time. So every time Ron takes a plane, he calls me up and says, should I go? I said, okay. Don't put that on me, please.
Freshman.
Everywhere you go, it's Cousin Brucey. I like that. That's great stuff. We just got a call. I said Jonathan Winters was the guy who recorded Everyone's Gone to the Moon. It wasn't. It was Jonathan King. And the newscaster who was on the air was Bill Owen, I believe. I think so. Maybe not. But I'm not positive about that either. I'm not positive about much of anything, except we're about to hear a jingle.
101 CBS-FM, where the action is.
Mr. Neil Diamond on CBS-FM 101.1.
Melinda was mine till the time of
Solitary Man, Neil Diamond. That takes you back to 1966. You remember that? Yeah, I do too. CBS-FM 101.1. Yeah, hey baby, Bruce Chanel. Remember this tune? Of course you remember this tune. I mean, this was like the hugest tune of 19-something or other. 62, I think, yeah.
Hey, baby, I wanna know if you'll be my girl.
Oh, baby, hey, baby. A farm girl, as I recall. Yeah. The people from the Voice of America are listening to us on their satellite, we just heard. Glenn from Washington, D.C. says they listen to the show down there, and they reminded me about the day of the century, which was 7/7/77. You remember that day? We did nothing about it on the station. It was absolutely ridiculous.
If you've ever thought of
7 minutes before 3 o'clock on CBS-FM 101.1.
Cute tomato.
Ladies and gentlemen, something that keeps our lawyers very happy. Here we are.
Hi, this is Harry Harrison. Hello, love. This is Ron Lundy. Hello, you. Bill Brown here.
Hi, this is Bob Shannon. This is Bobby J.
Hi, I'm Don K. Reed.
This is your old buddy Max Kingle.
Hi, this is Mark Summers. Hello, Gary Clark here.
Hi, everybody. This is your cousin Brucey.
Keep listening to the Golden 101 to find out where your favorite CBS-FM personalities are appearing. All CBS-FM DJs are compensated for their personal appearances.
When we last left Radio Man, he had entered the Disc Jockey Hall of Fame and had come to the first little button in the first little bust of a former disc jockey. He pressed the little button and it played
Frank Kingston Smith,
Then he moved to the next little button and it played
Oscar Anderson,
and the next button.
Jim Nettleton,
And then
Les Marshak,
and then he pressed this button.
Swing, Charlie, swing!
And then he moved down to the biggest bust of all and he pressed the button.
Ingram,
No, he didn't press that button yet, did he? Well, I guess he did. He pressed the next button right after that.
Jay Reynolds,
And then the final button. The button that, well, he looked at it, there was no bust there yet. It was just an empty pedestal. And when he pressed the button, he heard... When he pressed the button, he heard... And a tear came to Radio Man's... Oh, I finally got it right. I screwed it up, remember? Okay, it's 4 minutes in front of Jack Spector. Jake is going to be here in 4 minutes from right now, and I got one more record for you. I always mispronounce this lady's name, The
Rock Reunion, CBS-FM.
Sir with Love by People have asked me, what is the name of your closing theme? It is Tri-Fi Drums. It is by the Billy May Orchestra. It is out of print, and this is an edit I did with my own two hands. I cannot tell you how much fun it's been to be here on CBS-FM. I'll try. Stop kvetching me on respect. I have had a marvelous time. I want to thank Joe. I want to thank Bob. I want to thank everybody. They've been so supportive and so helpful that I managed to bumble my way through this. I want to thank my great love for Maureen Donnelly for being in the studio with me all this time. And I want to thank you, Kimosabe. As a matter of fact, thanks a bunch for listening. And bye now, Kimosabe!
Rock and Roll Radio Greats Weekend could not happen without the outstanding efforts and contributions of our friends. Special thanks to Ben Friedman and Pam's Productions, Jonathan Wolford and Jam Creative Productions, Norman Knight, Mark Wiener, Richard Lorenzo, Dan Taylor, Rick Sklar, Richard Nader, Richard Rothman, Freddie Mitchell, and Alana Freed. Our radio friends, Howie Schachter, Robert Carl, Mike DeSarle, Rob Frankel, Marlo Sadi, Mike Papacina, Greg Lance, Jerry Diefenbach, and Al Stark. Radio stations WINS, WMCA, WABC, WNEW-FM, WBLS, and WYNY. From our CBS-FM family, Don K. Reed, Bobby J., Barry Siegfried, Ellen Miller, Renee Cassis, Kathy Chin, Jana Polsky, Giselle Diaz, Carol Arlia, Mary Regal, and Debbie Ferrucci. The CBS-FM programming staff, Jeff Mazie, Dennis Falcone, Bill Sabatini, and Al Bertucci, and especially Maria Martello and Bob Sagendorf, along with our leaders, CBS-FM's General Manager, Rod Calarco, and of course, the Rock and Roll Radio Greats.
The Radio Greats, all weekend long on 101 CBS-FM.
This is Joe McCoy, and thanks for being part of radio history in New York with the Rock and Roll Radio Greats Weekend on CBS-FM 101.1.
It's the Rock and Roll Radio Greats Weekend. 101 WCBS. 101 CBS-FM.
If you do what